I sit within the products organisation and I head up the Wholesale Ethernet product. And so what I'm going to talk to you today about is how we see Ethernet and the increasingly important role that Ethernet is playing within the connectivity world, and also supporting convergence, supporting cloud services, etc. So one of the things that traditionally BT's been good at, we draw lots of clouds. And for us, the key bit are the lines into the cloud. It's always been a core part of BT's business, and it still is a fundamental core part of BT's business. But the world of those lines, those accesses are changing, moving from traditional TDM services, frame, ATM, etc., to Ethernet, IP-based services. And what we see is Ethernet is a really fundamental part of that. The more and more applications, resources, etc., that are being put in a virtual world, in a cloud world, are only as good as the connectivity that exists to access them. And that's where we come in. That's where we come in terms of supporting our customers with those accesses and those connections. So it's not just about the access, it's about how flexible we are in terms of providing that. It's the coverage that we provide in the UK nationwide. It's the bandwidth. It's not just the bandwidth choice, it's the flexibility to be able to move that bandwidth, change that bandwidth, to be able to support different types of traffic routing for our customers. As I mentioned, we support over 1,000 customers in BT Wholesale. On my product, Wholesale Ethernet, we've got about 130 customers at the moment. We're onboarding one a week. Around that, I've got a massive range of customers out there, ranging from supporting the large, all 5 mobile operators, large fixed players, resellers, virtual network operators, brand extenders, etc. So one of the key elements of our product is how flexible it is in terms of being able to be configured by our customers to meet their different requirements. Also, fundamental, as I mentioned, in terms of looking at connectivity and how important that is going to be to support cloud-based services, is the customer service, is the quality of service, and is the service support that's provided over. And that's one of the key linchpins of our proposition. So we talk about cloud. There have been a number of slides this morning talking about the real growth in cloud services, all aspects of cloud services, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, etc., really growing in the UK. Over 50% of organisations are either embarking on cloud-based services, looking at cloud-based services. The key areas of that is public cloud services, and within that, over 2/3 are in the SME area. And this is where it kind of links into, well, what are SMEs looking for? They're looking for access to branded products. They're looking for that branding. They're looking for a one-stop shop in terms of being able to support that and support those services. They're also looking at buying from trusted resellers. It's that brand awareness, that brand trust, and that continuity of service. And as I mentioned, key for us is the underlying connectivity services that are provided to support cloud-based services. So the graph says it's growing. If I look at it from an Ethernet perspective, it's exactly the same graph. There was a graph earlier in one of the previous presentations that kind of showed a crossover between legacy and new wave services. We're well past that in the Ethernet world, going from traditionally where it was TDM-based services, private circuits, etc., was the choice connectivity. We're well past that now. We've moved the paradigm in terms of now, a lot of my customers, it's 70% plus of new opportunities that are being quoted using Ethernet-based services as opposed to TDM. The growth is not just in E-line-based services, so point-to-point, hub and spoke, but also looking at AnyToAny services, so E-line, layer 2 VPLS services. And that's really supporting that kind of dynamic bandwidth routing applications that cloud-based services are really driving. Within wholesale, we've seen over 300% growth last year. The trajectory on this product and where we see the market going is phenomenal moving forward, and that's being seen across the market. Excuse me. So why Ethernet? Well, if you look at it in terms of traditional connectivity services, TDM for instance, to be able to move between bandwidths was quite difficult to do. There were big step changes. There wasn't natural migration paths. Ethernet, once the access is in, to be able to increase the bandwidth is very simple and very quick. And I'll touch on that in terms of what we're doing around that. It's obviously supporting IP-based services, being able to converge services, both data, both voice. Our customers, a lot of our customers, are using access and using a single access to support voice, data, etc. services. And that real bandwidth demand, the growth of bandwidth, bandwidth-hungry applications, again, it's how do we support that in terms of being able to give my customers the ability to increase the bandwidth to support that demand. Now, interestingly, it's not all about massive bandwidth growth. As I mentioned, the paradigm shift from TDM services, the majority of TDM services are all down at the 2 meg level. So again, we're seeing real big growth in the sub 10 meg Ethernet market, and it's how we support that. But obviously, as we move to Ethernet, we may look at a 2 meg to 2 meg migration, 2 meg to 10 meg, but then it's how do we take customers above that? And above all, Ethernet, the foundation of supporting cloud-based services for our customers. So the product, so I couldn't get away without putting a kind of cloud in here. So Wholesale Ethernet, what is the product that is supporting the likes of Britannic? So it's delivered over the BT21C network. 21C core network is MPLS-based network, got 106 nodes around the UK. And what we've done, we've expanded that network out, getting as close to our end customers as we can to reduce the access costs in there. So we've rolled out Ethernet edge switches, take the service, using fully resilient backhaul network. The product that I manage is specifically for the wholesale market. Customers that are reselling it, using it as part of their solutions that they provide. I don't support the retail arm of the BT business, specifically focused on the wholesale side of the business. The diagram is showing the main configuration that customers take, and this is the way Britannic are using the service as well, as is the case for the majority of my customers. They have interconnect connections into their network, into their data centers, where all the applications and services are provided. And we support the aggregation, the backhaul of the connectivity into that network and into those data centers. It's a component-based product, and this, as I say, because I've got such a range of customers, customers can configure the way they take the service in terms of they order the access, they order the VLANs separately. I've got a number of customers that take it in different ways in terms of deploying shadow VLANs, etc. So the configuration and the flexibility exists. Ethernet, traditionally fibre. For us, it's not just about fibre access. Don't get me wrong, fibre access is really key. It is the vast majority of our service. Probably 75% of access is fibre at the moment. Single fibre, resilient fibre. We support a number of resilient options in terms of dual fibre routes, no single point of failure in terms of POPs, in terms of network, fibre routes, etc. But it's not just about fibre. Copper. So we support EFM, Ethernet in the first mile, which is basically bonded copper pairs to support Ethernet service, to support a symmetric Ethernet service. At the moment, we support that from 1 to 10 meg. I'll touch on where we're going to be pushing that above. For some of my customers that are located within existing Openreach exchanges where I've got an Ethernet switch, I can hand over within the exchange, so an in-building handover. And key for us is about choice, flexibility for customers. So we are looking at how we expand the range of access options open to our customers. I'll touch on a couple of these in a bit more detail. We're just about to launch a radio access option, really targeted areas where it's difficult to get fibre access into a building because there might be high access construction costs, for instance, or there is resiliency required. There might be one route in. Potentially we could look at radio as a separate route into that. Also, the growth of fibre-based services, so fibre to the cabinet, fibre to the premises out there. We're going to be launching that as an access option on Wholesale Ethernet early in Q4, which is about February time. Again, it's giving access choice. Most importantly, it's giving a lower cost access option. For my customers, for yourselves and customers, access is one of the big costs. It's exactly the same for me. Access is the biggest part of my cost. So we're looking at lower cost access options. How we've rolled the network out is how we reduce that access cost to get really competitive commercials in the market to support the bandwidth growth that we've got. I mentioned about coverage and the commitment that we've got to be rolling out Ethernet across the UK. So we're currently, as of today, I'm currently live at 1,065 nodes in the UK for Fibre services, 721. It says on there, we've already got plans, published plans in terms of locations to get above 1,143 to be exact. We're also looking at our plans for next financial year for us, so from April, where we're looking at an investment to roll out at least another 500 nodes out there. I say it's not just about fibre, it's about EFM, and it's also going to be about fibre to the cabinet, fibre to the premises as well, and being able to support that access choice for our customers. So I'll mention customer experience. And ultimately, the key with the connectivity is that you've got the robust connectivity that's underpinned by SLAs, that's really resilient, and that there's a customer service that supports it there. One of the key things, obviously, with cloud-based services is the speed to be able to access them, the speed to be able to turn them on. Ultimately, the connectivity is one of the key elements of that. So the focus that we've got is on how do we get the connectivity out there as quickly as possible. But once the connectivity is there, the ability to provide additional virtual connections across that network, we provide an additional VLAN, virtual connection, across the network within a day. On existing virtual connections, the customer wants to upgrade the bandwidth. We can do that within 30 minutes now. We can do that within the next 30 minutes. We can do that within a 30-minute time slot for our customers, potentially if they want to program that at night. So it's that real ability to support the bandwidth growth in a really timely manner. Obviously, underneath that are the SLGs that we offer around both provision, about repair. Key part of our strategy is in terms of how we ensure that our customers can interface into that in a timely and an efficient manner, so via portal-based services. So they can order via portal, have access to pricing tools via the portal, API interfaces into that as a key part of that in terms of how we support our customers. And again, it's about quality and security. So one of the things that we've got on the Wholesale Ethernet product, we've achieved the snappily titled CIL 2.2.4 assurance, so government assurance levels, which really support PS-type, PSN bids reagents. So we've got the assurance level signed off for that, and that means customers, the likes of Britannic, all my customers, have that they can use and support on their own services as well. Supports all components of the Wholesale Ethernet service, fibre access, EFM access. So it's already available to support radio access before I launch it. And obviously, the key core and backhaul networks are all in place. So it's giving customers that assurance that we've got the quality, the resilience within the network, but also that all those components meet the recommended security requirements, etc., and that are more and more being asked for and required in kind of local government type bids, etc. I mentioned when I showed the slide in terms of how the networking is configured. The majority of my customers take it on a hub and spoke. What we've launched fairly recently on the product is our AnyToAny offering, so ELAN. Again, real big drive for this is customers changing bandwidth requirements in terms of looking at how some of the bandwidth routing is more dynamic. Doesn't need to come back to a central point, supporting wide area networks. It also introduces QoS, quality of service, on the product as well. And not only have we launched that on ELAN, we'll be launching that very shortly on our E-line offerings as well. So we're giving customers the ability to prioritize the traffic and the way that's configured within the network. So our VPLS offering is just that, supports AnyToAny. The key thing for us is it's not a separate product. It's all under the Wholesale Ethernet banner. It's all supported over the same access options. So our customers are running both contended or uncontended E-line offerings. They're also running dynamic VLANs, or they're running ELANs across the network, all over the same network. There's that ability to support multiple connections over single accesses, to support different customers' bandwidth requirements, and different customers' bandwidth routing requirements as well. The key driver for a number of my customers from a VPLS perspective is that they're in control a lot more than traditional, say, MPLS layer 3 services. It's independent to layer 3 services. That's a real key thing for my customers within the wholesale market. So this diagram kind of links to the one before, but in effect what we do is we create the ability to create closed user groups. That my customers have multiple closed user groups for their end customers. And within that, and the traffic routing through MAC addressing enables traffic to be routed to any point within that closed user group. It introduces class of service, so there's 6 classes of service within that. So again, supporting customers in terms of their bandwidth priorities and their traffic priorities. I touched on this before, but there's a real lot of interest within the wholesale market for other access options. As Ethernet becomes the standard in terms of connectivity services out in the market, then radio access, let's say it's not vast volume, but there are a number of locations where it's very difficult to get fibre-based services into. The underlying Wholesale Ethernet network that we support supports our mobile backhaul offerings that we've got. We've got contracts with 4 out of the 5 mobile operators in the UK. Key, as you can imagine, a number of the base stations out there in the middle of fields. Cost of getting fibre into them is significant. So there's over 1,000 base stations that we're rolling out radio access to support Ethernet. As those mobile operators move from traditional TDM connectivity to backhaul the traffic to Ethernet-based services. We're looking at how we expand the coverage of this to support other customers' requirements, how we extend the reach of it as well moving forward. I touched on EFM as well. Really strong growth in EFM, especially because of the lower bandwidth requirements in the internet market, especially for the sub 10 meg, where the pricing is driven ultimately by 10 meg access pricing, fibre pricing. EFM lowers that entry point onto Ethernet services. It helps support the migration from traditional lower bandwidth TDM-based services. So we've got a significant investment program within EFM as an access in our product and how that supports our customers. Where I see a number of my customers that are really using this and there's a lot of volume coming through is within the SME sector. A real big strong growth in that area. So not only are we looking at how we roll out further nodes where we can support EFM access from, but we're looking at how we improve the service offering, how we improve the bandwidth. So we're looking very shortly, next month, to remove the 10 meg limit that we've got on and to be able to support up to 35 meg. The proposition that we offer on EFM is very much around meeting a customer's bandwidth requirements. So we will put the number of pairs in to meet that bandwidth requirement. It's not an up-to service. It's very much about guaranteeing a customer a bandwidth. We've got great flexibility in the fact that we can provide EFM using between 1 and 8 pairs. So it's not specific to a number of pairs. Customer wants 6 meg, we will put the number of pairs in to meet that bandwidth requirement. We build in specific headroom within our offering to guarantee that bandwidth. That's based on experience within the market that we've gained to understand with using copper. There's different qualities of copper out there. So we built that in. What that kind of means is, if we lose a copper pair, you don't get a complete loss of service. You potentially just get a degradation of service. Because we build the headroom in, not a lot of customers see that. So we're introducing things like proactive monitoring, whereby we will pick up that degradation service even if a customer doesn't, and we will repair it. So it's key things like that in terms of how we're really building on the service offering that we've got out there, underpinning real applications that our customers are selling and the products that they're supporting. So there's a Whistlestop tour, and I was asked if I could go a bit quicker. So hopefully I made up a bit of time on the agenda here. But the key thing for us within Wholesale is how Ethernet really is underpinning the UK connectivity requirements. It's not just in the wholesale market, it's in the retail market as well out there. And ultimately it's around the more and more resources and applications that are being centralized, going into data centers, etc., then the connectivity that supports the access to that becomes more and more important. And that's why we see Ethernet as really supporting not only BT Wholesale's own strategy around cloud-based services, but how we support with the underlying connectivity to support customers like Britannic and their own cloud-based services and propositions. So thank you.